Now that you intend to prepare for the CAT, I am sure that you would have this question in your mind: how much time does it take to crack the CAT, or what should be my timetable like if I were to crack the CAT? Now, as there is no straightforward answer to this question that okay, X hours of preparation with 5 minutes of preparation per day is going to guarantee your 99th percentile, I will tackle this in a slightly more scientific manner. So in this particular context, if you were to look at what happens when it comes to preparing for the CAT, to give you a rough estimate, a TLDR kind of an answer right upfront, I would say that it takes roughly 1000 hours to crack the CAT. Now, as it's a nice round number that you have in front of you, now let's see how you divide your preparation into phases. So the first thing you have to understand is how do you divide your preparation into phases on the basis of the sections that are involved. So there are 3 sections when it comes to the CAT. The first section is the verbal ability and reading comprehension section. The second section is the data interpretation and logical reasoning section. And the third section is the quantitative ability section. Now, because you have 3 sections and you are supposed to score more or less equally at each of these 3 sections, you have to ensure that you're putting in a similar amount of effort when it comes to preparing for these 3 sections. However, if you look at the syllabus, so to say, you will see that there are a lot more technical terms and topics and areas that are present at the quant section compared to the DILR section and the verbal ability reading comprehension section. Now, this roughly translates into you spending say 500 hours preparing for the quantitative ability section and 250 hours preparing for each of the verbal ability reading comprehension section and the data interpretation logical reasoning section. So 500 for QA, 250 for DILR, 250 for VARC. That should ideally be the split. Now, of course, if you are relatively strong at one of these 3 sections that I mentioned, it is okay for you to spend less time on that section and work on something which is your weakness, because you are expected to score well across the 3 sections at the CAT. A lot of top B schools have sectional cutoffs or sectional weights that are assigned. And if you falter in one section, then you are going to be in big trouble. Also, if you look at the trends that we have established at the CAT, in 1 year you might see a quant section that is extremely easy. In another year you might see a VARC section that is extremely easy. In a third year you might see a DILR section which was relatively more doable compared to the other 2 sections. Now, you do not want to be caught unawares because you are not good or you are not confident about a particular section, and that's why you should focus on each of these 3 sections equally. So that is the first point. Now, if you look at it in terms of how to phase your preparations, there are 3 broad things that you need to do when it comes to preparing for the CAT. The first thing is you have to know your concepts. If you do not know your concepts, then you are going to be in big trouble purely because you will not know what to do with a particular question. So if you do not know what is the difference between permutations and combinations and whether to apply the NPR rule or the NCR rule or to just do it by just reading the question, right? It's completely up to you, but then you should know what is the concept that needs to be applied in a particular situation, right? And if you have not really studied the concept in the first place, you will not be able to apply it at all. So the first thing is knowledge of a particular concept that is going to be extremely crucial when it comes to you cracking the CAT. Now, there are a lot of concepts that exist. Roughly speaking, you will see somewhere around 150 to 200 concepts across the 3 sections that are present, and you will have to go through each and every basic concept so as to be confident about being able to interpret the questions that appear at the CAT. The second part is going to be being able to apply these concepts or being able to deal with chaos. Now, when I say chaos, what I mean is when you are practicing, let's say for example, jumbled paragraph questions. What you will do is you will start with jumbled paragraph question 1, then you will go to jumbled paragraph question 2, 3, 4 and so on, and you will solve maybe 20 questions in one sitting. But when it comes to the CAT, you are not going to get a section full of jumbled paragraph questions. In fact, the jumbled paragraph questions might not even be one after the other. So you have to be used to dealing with chaos, meaning that you should be able to apply concepts by switching on and off between the various questions that exist. So your first question could be from arithmetic, second question could be from geometry, third could be from modern math, fourth could be from algebra, fifth again could be from arithmetic, sixth again could be from geometry and so on. Now you have to switch on and off between the various areas that exist. You have to be able to switch on and off between the various topics that you can find at the CAT. And that comes in your second phase, which is the application bit, wherein one, you will be able to apply the concepts that you have learned at a slightly higher level. So for example, you know how to distribute similar objects into distinct groups. Now that is a concept that exists. But let's say, for example, like what happened in one of the past CATs, there was a question which said that you are expected to distribute say 25 objects among 5 people such that each one of them gets an odd number of objects. Now how will you be able to do this? Right? So in that particular case, you might not be able to apply the formula directly. You just have to understand how to use basic number theory and the concept of dividing similar objects into distinct groups. So that is basically how things work when it comes to the application bit. And the third thing is going to be test taking. Now, of course, you have to be able to apply concepts one after the other by switching on and off, and also you have to do it under the pressure of a timer while competing with a lot of other people. And the test series is something that will help you simulate that particular behavior and to do well in the 3 sections that will be presented to you at the CAT. Now, as a matter of speaking, what you are expected to do starting now till the CAT is you have to finish all your concepts first so that you have a working knowledge of most of the conceptual questions that you might come across. Then you have to be able to deal with uncertainty / chaos / higher order questions which involve combining 2 or more concepts for one particular question. And then the third bit is going to be solving these questions under the presence of a timer. So the concept bit should ideally be done by the mid of August or the end of August. So that is the deadline that you can set for yourself irrespective of when you started preparing for the test, followed by you being able to apply the concepts, the application phase, which should take another couple of months or 1.5 months or so. So by the mid of October or so, you should be comfortable dealing with the application of the concept that exists. And the third thing, that is test taking, will take over almost entirely throughout the second half of October and the entirety of November. So that is more or less how you should go about preparing for the test. In terms of how many hours to prepare every day, depending on when you are starting for the test, you can just see how many days are left for the test and you can divide 1000 by the number of days. That should more or less give you the approximate number of hours that you should be preparing for every day. So let's say, for example, you are going to prepare for the CAT over the next 5 months, let's say, for example, which will translate into roughly 150 days. That basically means that you have to invest roughly 6 hours every day on an average if you were to crack the CAT from now for till 5 months later. And that is basically what you can do. In terms of your timetable, what you can do in this particular context is you can either do one section entirely in 1 week. So 1 week is say roughly 6 days. Then 6 days you will end up doing only quant, let's say, if you are of that bent of mind. And then you will spend the next week doing 3 days of DI, LR and 3 days of VARs. Even that is fine. Or you might be someone who wants to touch base with a section more regularly. So you might end up doing quant for 3 days in a particular week, maybe VARC for a day, day and a half, and DILR for another day, day and a half. And that's basically how you can face yourself. So the number of hours, once you're able to get to that number of hours, you will have to divide it again in terms of what needs to be done on a daily basis. Also, you might not be able to get this entirety of 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours or 6 hours at a stretch. So what you have to understand is you will have to be aware of when you are going to get those 15 or 30 minute windows that you can fill with preparation. So throughout the day, you will get a lot of these 30-minute windows where you will be able to schedule your preparation. So ensure that every Sunday you sit at one place and design the timetable for the entire week. Visualize what you are going to do throughout the entire week so that whenever you get those 15 minutes or 30 minutes, you will be able to fill those 15 or 30 minutes with content. And that is basically how you are going to progress. In terms of how many mocks do you need to take, you should be aiming at taking at least 15 to 20 mocks because that will help you, one, get familiar with the entire test taking environment that exists, how to react to surprises, how to sit at one place for 2 hours without any food, water, breaks or whatever, and then it will help you build concentration over the 15 or 20 mocks that you're going to take. And the second thing is, of course, the content in the mocks is again going to be top notch. and that is going to help you build a lot of conceptual clarity as well when it comes to cracking the CAT. So that's why 15 to 20 marks is generally a decent enough number, considering that you might start your mock taking season somewhere in the month of June or so. You can start by taking one mock every couple of weeks and analyzing it thoroughly, and as we reach August, maybe you can scale up the frequency to one mock every week or so, and then once we reach the month of the CAT, maybe around the end of October till the mid of November, you can target 2 mocks every week. And that is basically what is going to sum up your CAT preparation, and you have to ensure that you are doing it without any breaks at a micro or a macro level. So at a micro level, meaning that on a day-to-day basis, ensure that if you are getting those 30 minutes, 1 hour, you sit and focus on your CAT prep without getting distracted by anything else. And let's say, for example, when you are doing it at a macro level, make sure that you are doing it consistently day in and day out without taking any random breaks, and you are not going AWOL for 7 days, 2 weeks and then restarting your CAT preparation, because that is generally not going to help you continue from where you would have left. So the whole idea is for you to prepare consistently. The whole idea is for you to prepare in a structured manner, and I am sure you will see the results of your preparatory journey when it comes to the CAT result.